Hey there, Paranormal Triage here. We're a little bit late. Actually, okay, a lot late. So hopefully people are still here and interested. So,
yeah, we're live. I can see it.
All right, this is actually our first time, I think, going live on multiple platforms, which has been kind of a challenge. So, but I think we're here. So if anybody's out there, comment and let us know. And we're just here to talk paranormal tonight.
All right. Let's see here.
I feel like we're a little shallow.
Let us know if you can hear us okay.
Anyway, so this was a little complicated today. We kind of did a last minute let's go live idea. Had some family stuff going on, so we were a little late getting back here. And then we always have to set up. It's not like we have a studio that's set up all the time. So it's like 10 minutes of like out of control nonsense. So.
All right, let's see if this works. Okay, click on the comments up there.
Oh, let's see here. Wait.
There we go. All right, we're working. So comment, come on and watch and comment so we can have some conversations.
Yeah, so here we're just coming in tonight to just kind of test this out, see how this goes. We have a live event coming up on the 27th. I think it's 5 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific time. We're in California. We're weird.
PDT, PMT,
Pacific
PST.
Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time, whatever. I don't know. It's on the West Coast. So if you don't know, Google West Coast time versus, I don't know, wherever you live.
Yeah, so I guess tonight we're just going to talk about some of the projects we have done, projects that we're going to have here in the future when it warms up a little bit more and the snow caps melted off.
Yeah, I mean, our scheduled live is going to be very specific to a topic, but we just wanted to come on and just talk about anything paranormal. Some of our experiences, kind of go back to some of the stuff we've done. And yeah, just talk about whatever. So we recently posted our Shasta Dam and Monolith, which is something that we worked for. I don't know. How long did we work on that for? Like, when did we start?
Gosh, it's been like a few weeks ago.
I think we actually filmed at the Monolith like the first couple weeks of February.
Maybe,
and,
yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it was, February. It was a full moon. Remember that from the video?
Yep.
So if you check out the video, you can see it was a full moon, and it was kind of full circle because when we posted it and actually put it on our platforms, it was also full moon.
Yep.
So it went a full, at least one full moon cycle. May have been multiple. Yeah, so I mean, you worked really hard on that. I just kind of talked at the camera.
So yeah, we kind of upped our game a little bit. We wanted it to be more more interviews and stuff like that. Even though the interviews were us, we had more to share, and it's kind of hard to pack that in a reasonable amount of time. And so I am self-teaching myself how to edit. So I'm kind of proud of this one. I think it came out pretty good, and I'm pretty excited about it.
It did. It came out really good. And, that I was kind of surprised at how you set that all up and how it turned out. Well, not surprised because I knew it was going to turn out good, but it turned out really good.
Yeah. So the point of it all was, as far as stepping up our game, we still, when we started this group, we really wanted to share the unwritten history, which is really hard to do because anything before the 1800s, man, you have to, I don't know what kind of libraries you go to, but not ones in my community. And it's really hard to get that history. So we've kind of been focusing around the 1800s, and the dam was kind of part of that for this area anyways. And I feel like it came together pretty well. So if you've never been to Shasta County, I don't know how much you know about the Shasta Dam, but there's a lot of folklore, a lot of history, So
A lot of history, from everything from the settlers that came in to the Native American stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of history there, and we touch on it. So go check the video out and comment on the video and let us know what you think there.
yeah, so we've kind of, we started, it's like, I think it's been about 3 years now, 2 or 3 years that we've been doing this now. And where we've started at, where we're at now is for us, we've accomplished quite a bit. It's kind of hard coming into this and you're like, I want to tell all these stories. I really don't know how to make it work. I've never touched a camera before, but I wanted it, for us, we wanted it to be relatable and not just, we don't want to be just a jump scare channel. And, we wanted people to kind of relate to the history and kind of understand where all that ties in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it was a big endeavor because we really haven't done that type of history dig before, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was really fun. So, and I look forward to taking that approach on our next kind of bigger project.
Yeah. So one of our first investigations was in Cottonwood, California, and I really didn't know how much history revolved around Cottonwood, as far as like settlers coming in and how that affected Native American tribes in this area, and just how much it affected people that just wanted to start new lives. You had the gold miners coming in, and to me, when I think about it, I feel like there was a lot of chaos. There could have been a lot of chaos coming along with that. And people really don't talk about the chaos of all that. They just talk about the humble beginnings and how great it was to come here and settle. And, nobody really thinks about the effects it had on this area and the effects after everything, including the dam.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to dig into a lot of the history on that project when it came to, when the town was founded, and we learned about the Mexican territory and the land grant.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned about, the railroad coming through and all those different things that was happening. But we never really, we understood there was a Native element to the history, Native American, but it wasn't there. And when we fast forward through all the other, 2.5, 3 years later working on the dam, we were able to actually dig into some of the Native history there, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and then just, learning how to film, even something that seems as simple as the paranormal. It's not that simple. We started out with a very low budget camera, which was great. I think it was our grandson's camera. I think that was a camera used. I don't think we had the Canon camera yet.
No, we didn't have the Canon.
So we did our first interview, which I thought looked really good at the time. It was cool, but we just had this very low budget camera, and I don't even think we had one spirit box.
We had an S box, spirit box, and
I think we just had that red one. That red one, I think.
That's the S box.
Yeah, everyone starts out with that one, it seems. I can't say that for everybody, but I see it a lot. And I wasn't really, it's an okay spirit box. I don't dislike it, but for us, we got a lot of radio interference with that one. But, it's just kind of easier.
It's kind of like a combination. It's got some bells and whistles on it, recorders and different things. That just seems like it was a little bit more. We just wanted, to press the button and do the spirit box. Does my audio sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was, we had that low budget camera. We had a REM pod.
Mm-hmm. We had the REM pod.
And we had like a millimeter and like a K2.
I don't think we had all that.
I think we had,
no, the millimeter.
Well, we visited that location twice, so I can't remember the
millimeter. The very first one, we didn't have the millimeter or the K2. That didn't come till way later.
So that was after, that was the second time.
Yeah.
when we did the property across the street.
Yeah, so we did this. There were two parts to this investigation. I don't think we meant to do that on purpose. It just kind of evolved. So we did one that was in this hotel, and it was across the street from.
Yeah, it was the Cottonwood Annex.
Yeah, and it was also what else was it?
It was a brothel.
A brothel. There we go. Just my dementia set in. Yeah, so it was kind of a hotel and a secret brothel. You know, they would sneak the women up the back stairs, and yeah.
Well, the Cottonwood Hotel, and then that was the annex building to it, so it was the extra room. So that's what they used as the brothel.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Speaking of the history side of it, like they still had some of the original. I don't know if you want to call it posters or announcements, but they had the announcements from the actual hotel property, like what time supper was and how much it cost, and some
what
of
was on the menu.
the menu, and then the rules about your children running up and down the hallway, like
Yeah.
you'd see on the back door of a hotel. That's exactly what it was. It was just handwritten. And
Yeah.
It was old.
And that video is actually on our YouTube channel. If you want to go watch it and check that out, you'll see that menu in the video that we dropped on that. And so yeah, and then we had our crew was a little bit bigger back then. We had some guest people investigating with us. The guy that managed all that, he was there for a little while. I think.
Frank is that whole area where that hotel is it's a history landmark. It's like in the register.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that whole downtown area of Cottonwood, California, all those buildings are, original buildings.
Yeah, and I think they're still fighting to keep it. Seems like the government always wants to tear our history down. Tear them old buildings down.
They do.
That's an important part of our history. So,
And I mean, they've been remodeled and done, and they've got tenants and renters and in some of those places. But the Frank, who kind of is like the maintenance guy, the manager of it, was able to allow us with the permission of the owners. We did that investigation, and a little bit across the street, which was the original foundry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had gone back. I don't know how many. Was it months or was it?
It was a while
year later. It might have
It
been
was almost like a year later.
Yeah. And we did the foundry building, and there's, it's a 2-story building, and it had been a couple different things over the years, like a theater house and some different things, and it was interesting because it's all kind of tied to that history.
Yeah, and I can't say we got a whole lot of paranormal activity because in that part of it, in that specific building, not the hotel or the brothel, but in that specific building, they actually had a Indian shaman come in and cleanse that room. And us being pretty beginner at this, we didn't want to go in and wake something up or do something that was not in our knowledge base yet. We're like, well, you've already fixed the problem. Why would you go back and wake it up? So we didn't want to do too much because then we wouldn't know how to fix it again.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of shows kind of the evolution of us as investigators and our team and the level we were at, and the whole idea of pursuing a spiritual awakening kind of was born there because that started that whole path of learning more, understanding more about the equipment, understanding kind of like where you fit into it with your empath stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't even really know that I was quite an empath yet. Then I think I was still trying to figure that out, so I hadn't really dug in with that yet. And I'm still kind of working on that.
Yeah.
But we did, with both locations, we did get some voices in the brothel part of the hotel or the annex, whatever you want to call it. And that was kind of interesting. We didn't really hear it right away.
No, we didn't hear it right away. We captured that we were able to hear it when we played back the video.
Yeah.
And I believe we captured a light anomaly that was really faint.
Yeah. Yeah. So it takes a long time to kind of polish that skill. It's a lot of listening, a lot of going back. We don't always hear things with our ears when we're investigating. It's always kind of when we go back and we listen to it and we're able to kind of clear some of the background noise out and really pay attention to what we think we're hearing.
Yeah. And I mean, it would be really fun to go back and do that same location now that we've kind of honed our skills with our equipment and honed our skills with the way we do things and our kind of open-mindedness to all of it. And I think that would be kind of fun to try that,
So if anybody's out there, I see one name, but I don't even know how to say that.
DK on. Yeah. So I saw you had made a comment on when we did the last podcast we did with the Way Out West.
Oh.
And you made a comment on there about something about a show, and I haven't had a chance to look you up or anything. So, thanks for commenting and tell us more about you. Tell us what you think about this.
Yeah. So tell us how we sound. If we sound okay, because the 27th is like going to be our really first real live, to where we're going to kind of get into the meat and bones of stuff and where we started. Because we come into this and we go on to some of these podcasts and we only really share part of the story, and it's very small parts, and they're just kind of little bites here and there. It's not really the whole story of our journey. I know we've had other podcasts that we've done in the very, very beginning. We probably explained some of it, but we'd like to hear from you guys, get questions answered, whatever questions you have, and maybe some of your experiences. So that's what this 27th is all about.
Yeah. So where did we go from there? What was like our next location that we investigated?
Our next location, actually, our first year and a half of doing this was all based in Cottonwood. So all of a sudden we had all these people contacting us going, hey, we think we're experiencing stuff. We want to find out if it's, real, not real. I think our next location was a family in Cottonwood, and it was one room in their house that they didn't go in anymore. There was a couple of suicides, 2 that were confirmed, and maybe potentially 2 more. I want to say 3, but potentially 2 more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That happened in the house, and they started experiencing a lot of stuff within that room, but kind of throughout the house, but it was more specific to that room.
Yeah, and that was interesting because we were kind of confined to that one room, but there was a lot of interesting things that happened. And, we had used the, Gary's APF processor for the first time, really in investigation. And that was really cool because we were able to kind of tune that in.
Yeah.
With I believe we were using the SB7 spirit box with that.
Yeah, and the SB7 spirit box is kind of our go-to. We've had the best luck with it. Recorders, not so much.
Yeah, for some reason the spirits don't want to, leave EVPs for us on recorders, but they'll talk to us on the spirit box all day long. I don't know why. That's just the way they like connecting with us or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. It's weird. So, but we caught quite a bit in that room. I think from both people that were there. Not only that we were getting men's voices, we were getting the females' voices that were communicating things that were very relevant to their suicides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they said outside.
Because I think the first, it might have been the second one. So it was the female, and she was in the yard having some kind of episode, and she was running across the lawn. She had a gun in her hand and just decided to pull the trigger. She was just outside of that room. And then I think the guy was he a doctor?
I don't remember if he was a doctor or like.
It's been a long time since I really thought about it. But so I think
he was a doctor.
He committed suicide in the bedroom. So that was kind of off limits for the family. But we were able to come in and kind of help him out. Like, we don't do cleansings. That's not really our thing. But we always say, if we'll come here, we'll confirm or deny, let you know if there's something really going on, or it's just, your imagination, because now you have all these ideas in your head, and that can make your imagination just kind of fire off. And I don't know, you could almost make up stuff sometimes.
Yeah. And, I recall that was the investigation that we kind of really figured out that you as an empath have, I don't know if you want to call them tics or gestures or certain things, but we realized that when you're being affected, you would touch your head. Yeah. So we never really put 2 and 2 together there until that one, because we were able to really coincide it with some of the activity that we were having. Yeah. So that was kind of cool on that front. And
so that was an interesting investigation. But then again, we kind of graduated, and it's really hard to investigate one teeny tiny room. It's like you got like 5 people with you, and you're all kind of crammed in this room. And, so then we decided to kind of rotate people in and out of the room. And different people were getting different response. Well, we were getting different responses depending on who we brought into the room. So we did have a young teenager that came along with us with his grandma. And so we had him in there for a little while, and it almost seemed like they were more chatty with him than they were with us.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of how it is with young people, kids.
And that's the one where we got that scream.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch the video that we have on YouTube with it, it's not, we call it a loud scream, but it's not really a loud scream. But it's like, it's got that emotional response type of scream. Like you can tell it's somebody in distress. It's somebody like hurting, like an emotional hurt type of scream. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
that we captured that.
We kind of tied that into the lady that shot herself in the front yard, because it's almost like that desperate, like Ryan said, we call it a scream, but it's that desperate thing right before you do something so dramatic like that. I'm sure it takes a lot of.
It'd be this kind of scream that if you get angry and you're throwing something and working on your car and you hit your knuckles, and it's like, but it's like got emotion behind it.
Yeah.
But that we also heard furniture moving on.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we heard like somebody scooting like a heavy dresser or a desk across. Sounded like carpet, but there was.
Yeah.
Or a hardwood floor, but there was all carpet. But it sounded hardwood. Yeah. It sounded like it scooting across a hardwood.
Yeah, it sounded like if you're dragging your dresser across hardwood floor, and it was all carpet in there. Mm-hmm. You're right. And the only furniture they had in there was like the stand that the TV was on, the bed, and then a couple nightstands. And we were all standing in there, so we didn't see anything move. But you can absolutely, in the video, you can hear it, and it almost sounds like it's coming from the back wall.
Yeah.
Which would actually be more like the front wall. It's the front of the house that goes into the front yard, which is supposedly where that woman committed suicide.
And then I think that was the first time that we incorporated cat balls. And
that's right.
And the bathroom where we kind of had the cat balls, because that's where we believe the man, took his life. The cat balls were going off like crazy in that bathroom, like in that doorway.
That's right. That was also the first time. There's a lot of firsts in that one.
Yeah.
It's also the first time we used the SLS camera outside of our house, which we'll talk about on the other podcast.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure how I kind of feel about the SLS camera. I don't think we've quite used it enough to really give a an educated opinion on whether we think it works or it's real or that. I mean, we're still kind of playing around with it.
I don't want to say I'm not convinced by it, because I feel like we can capture things and we have captured some things, but I also want to make sure that we do our due diligence with it, because you can be tricked pretty easy, I feel like.
Yeah, because it'll map in on stuff that you don't expect, like ceiling fans.
Or chairs.
You're like, oh my God, there's somebody in the ceiling fan. It's like, no, it's mapping the ceiling fan. Yeah. So I think the SLS takes a lot of practice. And I would caution people to jump right on it and say, yeah, this is capturing a spirit, and Yeah,
you can't be very judgmental. You have to be kind of a skeptic when you have the SLS, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you're watching the SLS.
Yeah. So that's something that we'll probably kind of toy around with in our future projects.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Because we're going to be doing some projects out in the environment where there's lions and tigers and bears. So.
Well, what might that be?
Pluto Caves.
Pluto Caves. Yep. Anyone that has been around Shasta County or knows or heard of Mount Shasta, right? Mount Shasta is kind of, I guess you could call it famous.
Yeah, it's pretty well known.
Epicenter of paranormal activity. I mean, some people say it's kind of one of the most paranormal places we have, for sure in California, arguably maybe even the United States.
Yeah, and it's very, very famous for the UFOs. So there's a lot of UFO believers up there. I think even down to they believe that there's a landing area on top of the mountain, and that's why we get the lenticular clouds up there all the time. If there's a lenticular cloud, that probably means they're landing up there doing whatever they do.
The cloud looks like a flying saucer. They think it's because there's a flying saucer in there. And that might well be. We don't know. And
that's going to be like a fun journey to go down, because there's a lot of people that have seen stuff. They claim to have seen the mountain open up and, flying saucers going in and out. And there's the lost tribes up there. They kind of look alien. Like they kind of, if I'm looking at the proper photos, They kind of have big heads and smaller torsos. So I guess if you were in the middle, like at nighttime, and you saw something, you might think that that was an alien. But I don't know much about the Lost Tribe, so that's going to be just an interesting journey, because also they have the Lost City inside of Mount Shasta.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't remember the guy's name, and I just saw his name today because it popped up.
Brown. His last name is Brown. And you're talking about the original guy, like early 1900s, that supposedly found this. The legend, paraphrasing here, the legend says that he actually found the entrance and was able to go in and see the lost city inside the mountain. And he gathered up all of his friends and all the people that he wanted to tell that this is where I found it and this is what I'm doing, and let's go. I'll show you where it's at, so we can go. I can prove.
J.C. Brown.
J.C. Brown.
And he was a British prospector. That's a tongue twister. So yeah, he discovered that underground city supposedly in 1904.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got that going on, and then you've got the disappearance, right? So he gathered up all the people he knew and said, "Meet me in this meadow. We're going to go. I'm going to show you all of this stuff." Everybody was like, "All right, we're going to go meet this guy," and they all showed up at the meeting place.
Yep.
But he didn't, and then he was never seen from again.
Yeah, so, he just didn't show up, and nobody ever knew what happened to him.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of goes down to the Lost City of Giants. That's what it is, and I think that has to do with the Lost Tribe. I think those are the Lost Tribes, are the Giants, and they do have photos of really tall people.
Well, they found skeleton remains of, I guess what you call a giant. I mean, like 7 foot plus people in and around the Mount Shasta area. So that makes you wonder. Really does make you wonder. And that's it's all connected. The Pluto Caves are right there, kind of at the base of the mountain. So,
and that was also Mount Shasta. Also is the Winneman Wintu tribes have a lot to do with Mount Shasta. That's one of their sacred areas within their culture. So
yeah. And I was reading a little thing about a native from Modoc tribes that was talking about how the mountain is sacred, and every time she would visit, she would bring an offering of water and tobacco, because you just want to make sure you go there with good intentions. And it's, she also talked about how there is Bigfoot, which is kind of the keeper of the forest.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. And then they made a connection to all of the UFO or alien type activity, to the Lost City, to Bigfoot, to paranormal, how it all kind of strings together into all paranormal and spiritual stuff. Yeah.
And then you got the Lemurians on top of it. The Lemurians are kind of funny. That's kind of a Lemurian. I don't know if they're a real.
Well, the current Lemurians, I believe some people think are a cult, but
yeah, and they kind of stay to themselves up there. I mean, it's not like you can get into their group, but they're very into the extraterrestrial stories and the lenticular clouds and everything up there. But I don't think I think they were just a group of people. I don't think they were a tribe or anything like that. I think they were just a hodgepodge of people.
Yeah.
But, that's just another story that we want to touch on, because paranormal just isn't always just ghosts and, scary things. Paranormal, I think it encompasses quite a bit.
Oh,
if you're more open-minded, and not just get laser focused on, paranormal is just ghosts and spirits. Well, I don't believe that. I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah. Everything, next to normals, everything can be considered paranormal.
But yeah, so Mount Shasta, I mean, if you ever come up this way and you're going to do some investigating, just make sure you're traveling more than just a pair of people. You got to prepare for the weather, the terrain, just about everything. So, but we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, we are.
So there's a couple caves where they used to do ceremonies. Well, that's the Pluto Cave. So, And then I was watching on a YouTube video, some guy that's been up there, and I can't remember what his name is. I have no idea who he is, but he went up there by himself, and he's got his little trailer up there, and he was going into all these caves and claiming to have seen aliens, and and through his little series of videos and stuff, he gets like this infection on his face or this thing that happens because he was exposed to this alien, and he's seen like these big ships, these big alien ships, and he's got like multiple videos. And then one day he just disappears.
Yeah, it's very strange.
After the weird skin infection, or it was like something you'd see in a sci-fi show.
Oh yeah, it was very weird.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And then I mean, you wanted to believe him, but then it just got so unbelievable and then he just disappeared. And then he even had his friends coming on going, yeah, he's disappeared, we don't know where he's at, we're gonna look for him. And then that was it. That was like the last episode. So unfortunately, I don't want to knock what he's doing, but it went from, hey, let's watch this guy, to man, now I don't know what to think, because people do come in and they want that attention and that whatever, they want hits and likes on YouTube and Facebook and all that, and I get it, but kind of.
Well, it kind of plays into the things that we're doing too when we collect our evidence, right? It's like you have to look at all angles of what's going on to determine how true it is, or what you're seeing is really what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. Do we have any? What about the Natural Bridge or anything out there? Do we plan on trying to do anything out there as well?
So the Natural Bridge, that's another Native American event. So that would be located in Hayfork, California. And gosh, I wish I knew all that. Yeah, that's also Wintu Indian out there. I don't know all the tribes because they all, like, it's Wintu, but then you have the Wintu Winneman and the Wintu other names. And so I don't remember exactly which tribe that is, but the story is that some ranchers, somebody on a ranch out there got killed, and then they thought it was somebody in this tribe. So they came in and they wiped out all the women, the children, old people.
Oh, they massacred them.
Yeah, basically a massacre. So they have kind of a little shrine out there that they go out and do their ceremonies and celebrations and all that. And so we kind of want to get out there and investigate some of that stuff, because it's important to keep your history alive. We have history, so we don't repeat things. If we erase it, then we start doing stupid stuff again.
And when it comes to these investigations, you kind of have to tread lightly too. You don't want to disrespect anybody or any tribes or anything. So you have to do it right, and make sure that you're kind of following the protocols of the other cultures to a point. Like you don't want to disrespect anybody in their beliefs.
Let's see. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to when we did the Shasta Dam. There were some stories, we talked about the horned serpent, and that is something. So we never confirmed if the local tribes actually followed the traditions or did those kind of ceremonies to call out a horned serpent. But in the northern eastern tribes did follow that tradition and very much believed in the horned serpent. And when we brought it up to some locals, they kind of shut down a little bit. They didn't want to talk about it.
And I don't blame them.
So when we did the video, we kind of treaded real lightly on that. We didn't get real deep into it. So it was still fun, but it was interesting how when you start learning what you should not talk about.
Yeah.
Like, let's not poke the bear and make some people angry.
Yeah.
But
and we did talk about, did confirm that there was, remains that were moved, and that they didn't get all of them.
Yeah. So basically how kind of all that went down. So they came, I don't remember, what's the guy's name that built that?
That built what?
What was the guy that built the dam?
Oh, the guy we found?
Yeah.
Frank Griffin.
No, the guy that built the dam. That designed the dam.
Frank Crow.
Frank Crow. Okay. So basically Frank Crow came in whoever else was around at that time, and they saw California as this kind of like
gold mine of water.
Yeah, basically a gold mine of water, and they just seen the potential that we could turn California into this massive farming and agriculture area, and that's kind of why they started building the dam. But in building that dam, they had to dam off the Sacramento River, which was also, there's so much to these stories.
Well, as you follow the river up towards Mount Shasta, which is a very sacred place, like it, all along those tributaries and the creeks and the rivers, how the river flowed through there it's all sacred to the natives. Sacred spots and where they did their ceremonies, and and that's also where they lived.
So you had like 29 tribes in those areas, roughly about 29 tribes, different tribes up in that area. What is the one? Pit River. Yeah. Pit River probably is the most noted story about the building of the dam, but they came in and they had to move everybody out, and then they only gave the Wintu Winneman a very short, I think it was like a matter of 2 or 3 days
it was a very short time frame
to move all their remains out. So they kind of got scattered, and that can create a lot of unrest, in my opinion,
Well, yeah, and the ones that they couldn't move are
still there
under the water, and in some places it's 500 feet deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got all that spirits and souls and everything kind of stuck under there, and that's their sacred area that wasn't supposed to be disturbed, but it was.
Yeah. So kind of sad when you think about it, just to move all those people.
It was. I mean, and they relocated some of them to some specific areas that they gave them, the land they gave them, but it wasn't, this kind of one local native was telling me that it's like, yeah, it's great. Okay, so you gave us some new land, but the federal government gave people that lived off the water land that wasn't next to the water, right? So these people lived off of, they were hunter-gatherers, right? So they, wild bear and
fishing,
and
big fishing, on salmon fishing.
And they put them in an area where they didn't have those resources.
Yeah.
So it was really hard for them.
Yeah. Then you bring all the disease in with it, pretty much wiped out a ton of tribes. So, but then, we kind of have our own Bermuda Triangle on the lake. There's a ton of missing people on the lake, and nobody knows what happens to them. So they just, and then, we talk about that being relevant to the horned serpent because, the horned serpent is supposedly still watching over all those forgotten, areas that are all flooded out now. Yeah, we have a lot of missing people on Shasta Lake.
Yeah, a lot of missing fishermen. How many people venture up those arms of the lake and get close to those kind of spiritual areas?
Yeah. I mean, we do have a lot of bears up here, but I highly doubt they're swimming out into the lake to get you.
Not that far.
I don't know. You never know. You got fish on the line and they're hungry, and I don't know. I might be a bear and swim out there and get some fish. But yeah, it's kind of sad because there's nothing worse than losing a loved one, and then nobody, it's just that cold case that never gets solved. So makes you kind of wonder. So
yeah, and not only the missing people, but there's also kind of a lot of, I don't want to say there's a lot of death, but there is. I mean, Lake Shasta is a place where people go to do recreation and boating, and it's a very popular destination in the summertime.
Yeah.
So when you have a lot of people and you have boats and, there's accidents that happen. So every year there's a couple people that die out of the lake.
Yeah. So we got Easter coming up, that spring break for all the college students, and we usually lose one or two a year.
We usually have issues
for a multitude of reasons, mostly drinking, but for a multitude of reasons. So, in our video about the dam, we did capture a teen. It sounded like a young teen to me, and it was a male, and it sounded like a male voice to me. And then Ryan remembered that out there, a young boy drowned out there. It's kind of a tragic story. He got pushed in the water, couldn't swim. His brothers didn't think much about it.
Nobody paid attention to this poor kid.
So he drowned, and so we believe that's who we captured in that video. So,
and where we were sitting when we did that spirit box session was not that far away from where that boy was drowned, and they found him. They pulled his body out, attempted to revive him and everything, but they were unsuccessful. But it wasn't that far away. I mean, if you got into a kayak or a boat, you could, what, 300-400 yards or so
Probably. Yeah.
to where because it was right at the loading dock where you drowned. And we weren't that far away from the boat launch.
Yeah. So you have a lot of stories out there like that. So do we have, people that haven't left that area? Are their spirits just still lingering? I think there are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And plus you got the dam right there. You got a hydroelectric dam creating all this energy,
Yeah, there's something to be said about, water and energy. They talk about how flowing water can kind of increase the spiritual energy, right? So you've got massive amounts of flowing water going through that dam.
Yeah.
And it's also creating energy.
Yeah.
Right?
And we can't get the guards to talk. They'll tell us it's haunted, but they won't tell the stories.
Yeah, they don't want to be on camera. They're not allowed to talk. They're it's kind of secret apparently.
Yeah. I mean, you could do the tour of the dam, but as far as like ghost hunting or going inside the dam where they do the tours, it's not allowed.
Yeah, it's locked down, armed guards everywhere.
Yeah. Ever since 9/11, it used to be you could drive across the dam. It was just open all the time. And then when 9/11 happened, they just locked everything down. And I highly doubt anything could blow that dam up with all the cement that's in it.
It appears to be pretty hefty to me.
Yeah, I think they say a small plane could probably crash into it and probably wouldn't do any damage.
That's what they say.
But yeah, I don't want to find out because that would flood my house. Like, leave my house alone.
Let's not find out.
But yeah, then we got another project that besides the Pluto Caves, just south of Mount Shasta is a campground in an area called Sims. And there's some stories there about shapeshifters. There's a couple people that have gone missing out there, just up and missing. Nobody knows what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a place where you can just wander off, Not only is it's right off the I-5, the main highway through California, it's real mountain. It's rugged. It's not like you can
rugged terrain.
Yeah, you can't just go out and push your way through the brush and the hills and the mountains out there and just disappear.
No, it's pretty. It's accessible. It's a Forest Service campground. It's accessible, and they've got a historical path that you can walk through there because the original Seas, the Conservation Corps, built a camp there, and again, there was natives that were pushed out, and the original Conservation Corps, when it was still part of the federal government, did a lot of work there, and you can still see the remains of their camp and their buildings. But there's a section of the river that flows around the edge of that campground. It's very popular for fishing. A lot of people camp there because they fly fish there. But you've got a railroad, so it's like the back end of the campground. There's one of the Forest Service bathrooms, and the story is that this guy was camping, is with his friends. And he goes to go to the bathroom, and then they never see him again.
Yeah.
Right. And just behind that bathroom is where this water is. And there's also a kind of a myth or a legend or something where at that same kind of section.
Well, a couple of people said it was skinwalkers. The people that kind of brought it to our attention called it skinwalkers. Well, we don't have skinwalkers here. That's native. The skinwalkers are relevant to a different location and only that location, which is like Arizona, Colorado. It's like the four corners or whatever.
It's a Navajo thing.
Now, do we have shapeshifters here? Yeah, I think we do. And I believe we experienced one. So, I would call it more a shapeshifter, but, and then you have mines around here too. Did he wander off in the hill and fall in a mine? Because not all of them are. That's the other thing. When you walk around these places in Northern California, you have to do your homework because they do have mines that haven't been capped off. And, brush is just grown over them. So you have to be very diligent and get your history on it because I wonder sometimes if these people just fell in some random mine.
It's possible. Although that area is pretty steep country.
It is. It's steep. But they did talk about a cabin being up and over the hill. When we were going to do that investigation, he said that there was a cabin, but he didn't really know how to get to it.
And apparently this cabin is kind of on the other side of this hill, but if you were to go over the hill to get to it instead of around, you'd have to climb like a ladder. That's how steep. Yeah,
you'd have to be an expert. You'd have to just be into that stuff. Hey, Paul, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Hey. We're just on here yakking about really nothing relevant, I guess. Relevant, but not relevant. We're trying out this whole going live thing. So hope your family's doing well. But yeah, so, and there's a lot of stories around Mount Shasta, just people disappearing. There was a grandma of a family that went camping, and she claims to have gotten kidnapped or nabbed by the paranormal or the UFOs, the aliens.
I think the story is it's like sirens where they lured them across that.
Oh yeah, it was the
rock.
sirens. Yeah, so lured her across the creek, but then she claims that when they had her, she doesn't remember a whole lot of it, but she remembers getting something injected in the back of her neck, and had even the next day she had like the poke mark, the needle mark in her neck. So then, like years later, she takes her grandson camping, and he was little, like 5 or 6. He was a little guy. And he wandered off, and he also got kidnapped. And yeah, we can talk all night long. But anyways, he got kidnapped and didn't come back for I think a couple of days.
Yeah, they were like, it was the big manhunt search for the missing kid. Yeah, and a few days later he turned up.
Yeah, I think they found him in a bush.
Yeah, they just kind of like curled up in like kind of in the area where it's like you would have think they would have found him because it wasn't that far away from the campsite.
Yeah, and he was traumatized, and he remembers everything where he was. He was in this cave, and he can describe the people that kidnapped him, or the aliens, or the whatever they are. And because I don't think anybody really knows what it is.
Actually, no, I think that the grandma wasn't on the camping trip, but he said that the grandma had helped him go back to where they could find him.
Yeah, because she had been kidnapped.
Yeah.
But he remembers everything that was in this cave. The clothing that was there. And it was like old stuff, just like hung up everywhere, just kind of laying around. So, yeah, I mean, so many stories like that about Mount Shasta. I'm sure everybody knows the 411 story. I don't really know much about it because everybody's like, oh, do you guys know the 411 story? I'm like, nah, I mean, I've heard of it, but not really.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of episodes of that missing 411, but I don't really remember a whole lot about the Mount Shasta one, other than they were climbing Mount Shasta and they were above the tree line. So it's not like you can be missing and hid in the tree line. And two friends, and the guy turns around and his buddy is just gone. And there's really nothing to hide in. If he would have fallen, he would have seen him because it's just rock outcropping. So it's like, that's a strange one. That's all I can really remember from it. That's something that we have to look up.
Yeah, it was like when they were just walking and his buddy turned. 1 minute he was there, his buddy turns around and he's completely gone.
And he hasn't been found to this day. His body hasn't been found. None of his gear has been found. None of that stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I'm going to see if I know how to do this. Do I have to go? How do I do this? I have to open another window.
Yes, I think you got to open the other window.
I'm going to figure out how to invite Paul on here. Paul, you want to come talk? You'll be our practice guest, like our practice guest. Let's see.
You know, talking about some of the past investigations we've done and different things that we've seen, Paul was gracious enough to invite us to participate in one of his investigations, and we're still slowly going through that footage. It's been crazy. We're trying to get the damn thing done because we had kind of started, and we'll get through it, Paul. I promise.
Here we go. Let me see. Taste. Let me know if you get that, Paul.
If you want, no pressure.
Oh, there's pressure. You're coming. Anyway, so yeah, this is kind of just our little practice night. So anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to going to the Pluto Caves. I'm a little nervous about it just because of all the stories I've heard. So Paul, go to your
Facebook.
Your Facebook. He's probably on his. We'll see if we know how to do this if he gets to come. But if you're busy, that's cool. But anyway, yeah, I'm a little nervous about the Pluto Caves because just of all the stories, you know, our oldest one that we have at home, John, he's been our cameraman, and you know, we were pretty choosy about where we take him and what we expose him to, and but he wants to go, and it's like, okay, then we're going to have to get more people to go with us because, you know, not only do you have wildlife there, you know, you have the bears and the mountain lions and stuff like that. You have all this folklore. So it kind of is a little bit unnerving. You know, I don't want to have to fight up an alien, you know. get my double barrels out and
Yeah.
go to war.
Yeah.
So,
How do you fight an alien?
yeah.
I can deal with people and animals for the most part, but yeah, the supernatural, the paranormal, and that's tough.
Yeah. We'll have to get Sean Quinn to come with us so he can bring us swords.
Yes.
But anyway.
Protect us.
So yeah, I don't know. We'd like to get, if anybody is in California, especially like you, Paul, maybe someday come up here and do some of these investigations with us. And we're, people get so laser focused on doing things that have already been, like we're always jealous about East Coast because you got all these buildings, and all these really cool places to investigate. And we're like, I wish we were over there. And, but we focus more on the stuff that hasn't really been investigated yet, not on the paranormal side anyway. Oh, there's Paul.
What's up, guys?
Woohoo! There you are.
Paul, how are you?
Good. How about you guys?
Good.
Really good.
I feel so successful right now. We actually were able to actually go live for a change and bring somebody in. I feel good about myself.
There you go.
How are you? What have you guys been up to?
Good right here, just at the shop. Cindy's here. I'll turn Cindy over. Cindy's right over there.
Hey.
We're here at the shop. We're just finishing up a little bit of filming for the documentary that we did here. So I gotta do a little bit of recording. So I just finished setting up all the cameras and devices and stuff like that to add to the documentary, so it's almost done.
So when you guys get this done, do you guys got a drop date or when you're gonna get
Not yet. Hopefully by next month. I would say next month.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing all the stuff you did.
I know it's been a while. It's too long. We got to get it up there. So, but it's gonna be good though. Alice has already been working on it, and the intro and getting the history and stuff like that, making sure everything is accurate, and she put it together very well, and so it's coming along really, really good. So just gonna do a couple, I think 2 rooms, and we should be good.
Nice. And now, are you guys gonna drop this on the Paranormal 24/7?
Yeah, it's gonna go on there. It's gonna go on there.
Nice.
An exclusive.
Yeah, it's gonna be
exclusive. I like it.
And then also we got Tombstone. We still got a Tombstone to do right after this. Edit all that and get all that ready and put that together.
Nice.
And there's a lot of stuff that we're behind on right now. we gotta move on. Yeah, we gotta put a fire.
We're not behind it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still behind on all the footage from when we did our thing together, and it's been tough.
Yeah, it has been. It's a lot of work and not enough time in the day. Working and then attending. You got your kids you attend to, the work. We got the shop, our work, and stuff like that. Taking care of chores at home. So it's like you don't want to kind of do anything after that long day.
I know it's not easy being an investigator. People think, oh, you just got with your cameras and you goof off all day. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, it all takes time and planning and.
Yeah, we did this project on the dam and stuff kept coming up, and we're like, now we got to go figure this out and figure that out, and it just kept going on. And we're like,
it's never ending.
Yeah, we eventually had to just say, okay, we're cutting it right here because we could have a podcast for like 5 days.
Oh, seriously, yeah.
And where you guys are at, you're accustomed to the heat, right? And so we get hot up here, So we, I'm glad we got the damn thing done before the heat came.
Yeah, it's warming up. Yeah, I was working outside the other day and doing some stuff. I mean, not even very long, and man, I was like, I need to go home and take a shower. I don't like to be dirty and sticky. My wife always says, my husband's always clean. He's like 3 showers a day, and I hate to be dirty.
Yeah, we got a couple that live in the mud. They're like 3 and 6, and they just live in our backyard in the mud pit. It's like, I just kind of gave up on showering them. So, but it's good to see you guys. We're looking forward to all that. And
good to see you guys too. Definitely, it's been a while since we talked and everything. I know everybody's busy right now doing things and stuff like that. But I'm glad
we were able to get on a couple of podcasts, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I saw that. Yeah,
it's nice to kind of talk to people that know a little bit about Mount Shasta, because Mount Shasta is like this enigma. So, it's nice when you kind of can talk about it a little bit. But we have so much to learn about Mount Shasta; it's ridiculous. You think you live here for a while and you know everything about it. You don't.
You don't. Yeah, there's always something to learn. Always something new.
Yeah.
Just, anywhere you go, really, like here, we're always still learning stuff, history, the settlers, the ranchers, native tribes and stuff like that, things that went on, the gold mine,
Yeah.
mining and stuff like that. And there's just so much history you think you do know, but
Yeah, those East Coasters need to get over here and investigate over here on our side.
Experience some of this West Coast history.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
For
think
sure.
the majority of it's outside though, so I think that's the kicker. We don't get the luxury of being indoors, so
Yeah, right.
most of our stuff is outside. So
It's all outside. Yeah, I know. We're trying to work on, well, mostly we do it, home investigations and stuff like that.
yeah,
And hopefully I can kick this off. I started Paranormal 24/7 home investigations. So where we go to, basically go to the home and have them, if we can film and put it on the show.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're working on that. And
yeah, we're kind of struggling a little bit with that, with like copyright stuff. It's amazing how much you got to really pay attention.
you do,
Even when we've just dropped on YouTube, it's always something little that you don't think is a big deal.
Yeah, especially homes. I mean, we got to get the permission, consent, and especially too if there's minors in the house. The parents got to sign off on the minors, especially when we interview them. We got to watch what we say. Make sure we're filming, recording, because I mean that backs us up when it comes if they ever decide to sue us or something. Because, they see it on TV and they're like, well, we didn't give you permission to film our house. And it protects us. Making sure they said, oh, we stole something from their house.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's always that liability and all those goofy
It's
people.
a liability. Yeah. So that's why we're going over contracts and making sure the contracts are all good, make sure they're all worded right and stuff like that. And when they're presented, we can explain them, in order and stuff like that. And it does too, the liability. And if just say, something does happen to a child while they're there and they're like saying they're getting possessed or they're being attacked or something like that, we have it on, and we end up going to court and the cops show up at our house and, and we're like, it's good that we have this documentation, and stuff like that. So hopefully it covers our butts and, saying, hey, we're paranormal investigators. We came in, they gave us permission and,
So, and obviously you're still opening up that door for anybody that wants to come in and put their show on there. Are you still just going to the...
Yeah, big shout out, like Paranormal 24/7. You guys are working your butts off to really get that going, and that's awesome. And
definitely.
You still open to have more people bring more content to you guys?
Yeah, we're gonna work on that. I know it's been a little bit slow on that. I'm gonna start changing up some things here pretty soon, and redoing some contracts and stuff like that, and reaching back out to different creators and stuff like and. See where that door opens there.
Yeah.
We got a Paracon coming up, and hopefully that opens the door to, with new creators and followers.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Sponsors or, anything, that will help. And I think, by doing that Paracon, it's going to open up the door for, Paranormal 24/7 or after that and stuff like that. But, there's a lot of kinks and stuff that we got to work out, things that we're putting together and, making some changes. But it's a learning process and stuff like that, and it's one step at a time.
Yeah, you'll get there. I think it'll be successful.
It will be.
Takes a minute. Like you said,
takes a minute. Like it could happen overnight, and then it can. It just takes time, one day at a time.
Well, whatever you need from us to help you in that journey, let us know. We'll put your websites up and stuff like that.
Sending him some more content.
I know. We got to send you some more content.
yeah. And then also we got our coffee line now too. We got our coffee line. That's been doing great. I mean, that's been like kicking off.
That's good.
We've been doing pop-ups and stuff like that just to get the streaming service out there. People like to know what it is, handing out cards. We taking our coffee with us at pop-ups, and we have pens, we have keychains, we have magnets and stuff like that. So we'll hand out those little gifts and stuff like that, so people can, when they put it on their refrigerator, they say, "Oh, Paranormal 24/7. Oh, check that out." Or when they're ready with their pen or something. But it's been great and stuff like that. The coffee's been doing really good, but the main thing is now start focusing, getting our content on there, doing some more stuff and stuff like that, getting out there and just, even if it's just a little bit short stuff and putting it together, just getting out there and doing a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned Paracon. Where is that Paracon going to be?
That one's going to be at their Venture. Was it called Venture Theater or something like that? the Ventura Theater event. It's called the Pacific Coast Paracon. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys been seeing it on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw it. I did see it.
Yeah, that one right there.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a 2-day event. That's in June 6th and June 7th. Really great people that are going to be there, and so I heard it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, we may have to try to make our way down there.
Yeah.
You never know. We might just pop in on you.
There you go. All right, hey, be a vendor. You still got a chance to be a vendor. Yeah,
Yeah, we kind of thought about reaching out, but we're kind of doing some adjustments in our own life just to make things a little bit easier, not only financially, but
yeah.
We're getting ready to homeschool our kids so we can actually do more stuff together and
There you go.
actually have more free time. But financially, we've just been trying to buckle down and get some things in order so we can actually travel and do more stuff. So we're looking forward to that. So
that's the thing, is the financial part and stuff like that. You go somewhere big and then recover financially from it and stuff like that, or trying to save up to go do something good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm an emotional spender. You know how us women are.
Well, hopefully by this time next year we'll have enough in order that we can afford to do some bigger trips and the kids and be able to experience not only the fun family side of it, but also do some paranormal.
There you go.
Because it's like in California, it's like to go anywhere for us, feels like it's a long journey. It's not just like a 2-hour drive. We got to drive like 12 hours to get somewhere.
It is.
I don't know how the Midwest or the East Coast is, but it seems like they're doing stuff all the time. And it's like, I wonder, do they just down the road, they just hop in the car? But
I know, right?
It's a lot.
For us, it's like a mission. It's like, spending money on rooms and gas and travel and food.
Tombstone took 12 hours.
Yeah, Tombstone. You figure, we went to go pick up, Alice, and, made a stop to eat. And it was like, just 3 hours to get to Alice's house, and then another 4 hours. I'm like, okay, well, that's 7 hours. But no, it seemed like 12 hours. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like that highway was never going to end. And when you get off the highway, you got one road to lead into Tombstone. It's like, well, where is Tombstone? Like, it's like never ending road.
Yeah, I did see a little town somewhere in Arizona, because that's in Arizona, right? Tombstone.
Yeah.
It was called Brenda, and I was like, I got to go to that place. It's a ghost town, but it's called Brenda. I got to go there.
Just to take the picture next to the sign.
Yeah, I don't think it was very far from 29 Palms. That was a highway going through that park. I was like, that's how
we weren't expecting that, but I mean, Josh.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you probably came the back way. Cindy's is because you came the back way.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's
that's
like
all right.
I think we took the wrong turn, but we're here.
It was an experience.
Right? Yeah, it's always an experience. Wherever we go, whatever we do, it's fun and it's an adventure and experience.
It was cool terrain,
Yeah.
So
we got some cool cactus.
But yeah, I think but I think Brenda is just right out of there somewhere, not too far out of there, like a couple hours. So might have to go investigate my ghost town.
There you go.
What was the name of that house that we were looking at, that we were trying to figure out when we were down there, and then we figured it out after we came back?
I don't know.
Man,
I don't remember. I don't remember. Anyways, shoot, it's 8:45. We should probably tie this up. Well, hey, we got to get off here. I didn't realize the time has gone by so fast.
No worries. And thank you for having me joining in.
Anytime,
Paul. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you guys and all that and everything you guys do.
Keep us posted on everything.
Sounds good. We'll do.
All right.
Well, have a good night.
Right.
Talk to you soon.
We'll see you later.
See you later.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up. I think time kind of got away with us. Every time Paul comes on,
I know. We just like talking.
It's exciting.
To Paul. He's a cool guy. Check out Paranormal 24/7. They're going to start building more and more content. It'll grow.
Go follow their channels. Go check them out on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. Anyway, all right. I guess this is it. We're going to stop it here, and hopefully we'll see some people.
Go check us out as well. Check us out on YouTube.
Yeah.
All the stuff we're supposed to say. Click like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully the 27th we'll get some more people on here and we'll have some good conversation.
Yeah, we'll dig a little deeper then. So.
All right. Have a good night.